Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ed Parcaut of Helping the Brave. Let's bring in our guest today, Raymond Kemp. Thank you for coming on the show today. Really appreciate you being here.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. I know because I know everything about you, but what service? This is the only question I asked on every show. What service and why?
World's Finest Navy, because the recruiter was more persistent than everyone else.
Now, you went in '86. Did you go in the delayed entry program back then?
I did. It was
the reason I bring it up because I was 85 and I did the same. Yeah, that's why I knew it. Not everybody knows about that kind of stuff. And
the DEP program gets your mind right before you get off into boot camp. And so I joined up in February, March timeframe, and then shipped out in June. So shipped out in June, and it was thank goodness for the DEP program. I think we need more of that.
Yeah, well, I joined and then I didn't ship out until January. Because I joined before before the end of the year, pushed it, and it was pushed to January. So I joined January of '85, right after high school.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And I joined the Navy because it gave me what it said it would give me. I was a corpsman. So
okay, not just a job; it's an adventure.
No, I knew I was going to be a corpsman, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when I went in, a lot of times they don't always guarantee your jobs. They guarantee my job. When my son was looking to go in the service, and he's getting ready to transfer for a second time. He's in the Army. So he'll be 8 years in. Wow, so fast. It goes fast. It really, I think he's 7 years. When he transferred, he's 7 years. But it's when he was going in, he's like, we went to the Air Force. They wouldn't guarantee it. He went to the Army. They guaranteed it right away. He's like, Dad, should I check the Navy? I'm like, no, you'll end up on a ship. You're not going to be like your old man who never got on a ship. You'll have to go to some specialty, which you're not going to want to do. Like I did. I went into physical therapy, and that was not on ships. And
right.
That's why I picked it. After I got to my first duty station, they were like, 18 months later, you're either going to a ship or a specialty school. What do you want to do? Because I had a high ASVAB. And I'm like, well, what school's not on a ship? And they're like, well, physical therapy is on the hospital ship or whatever that's called. But that's only for women. Okay, then that's what I want.
Sign me up.
Yeah, that way I won't have to go to a ship. Yeah,
hilarious.
And so I did that and got my bachelor's and master's while I was in. So I used it really well. But then I got out and I was in San Diego. I got to see when they say see the world, I got to see San Diego and Fort Sam Houston, Texas, and back to San Diego. Yeah,
good places though.
Yeah. So all right, you joined and you were in for a while. And kind of tell me about your story about your service.
Sure. So it was 1986, pretty tough time, in America, just kind of coming out of the wrestling of civil rights. And as I had the civil rights efforts, I should say, and I had heard, hey, the military is the way to go because it's a meritocracy. So I was like, let's go see. So I signed up, really, really hard start, which is kind of why resilience is my get down now. Made it through, the challenges of people, because by the way, there's people in the Navy, and the same people who were out in civilian society, many of them signed up same as me, but had that same perspective. And so muscling through that was the beginning of my career. But I did a lot of time at sea and on a lot of ships. So I deployed 11 times. Wow. I was on a sea duty for a total of 19 years. And then the rest of the 3 decades that I served was ashore, of course. Lived in Japan, lived in Naples, Italy. Started off as a data communicator. I call them ITs now. And once I got to be literally the number one IT in the Navy, then I decided to go into the command program and became a command master chief. Then I had a guided missile destroyer, an aircraft carrier, and when I shut it down, I was the first Black person selected as the fleet master chief, Navy Europe, Navy Africa, about 60,000 people.
Wow. So I'm going to back up a second because you said civil rights, because I know history. Civil rights was during the 60s. Please don't take that wrong. What I'm getting at is, how do I say it? My dad was a bigot. Let's just put it that way. So I learned as a kid what not to be. I explained that to be. So when I was in, I was a dumb redneck. I had no idea this issue that people had with race. Okay. I grew up around Hispanics and I grew up around Portuguese. I grew up around every different thing. So I didn't understand it. My kids to this day, they're Asian. They get picked on, but they don't understand it. So when you're talking, I understand the Navy and I understand Army. I understand all the military. We pick on each other a lot, and a lot of it has to do with where we come from. Where did you join up at?
So I was born in the great nation of Texas, raised in Oklahoma, and leaving Oklahoma, I don't remember being around. Definitely was not around. I don't know that I ever met an Asian person, for example. So it was a lot, fair share of blacks, whites, Indians, a few Mexicans, period. And that was the only interactions I had. Very, very small group of Iranian, by the way, who got into the hotel and hosting services. I'm not sure how that happened. I don't really know the history behind that, but there was a reasonable amount of Iranians there. And then, but so when I joined the Navy, again, it was really, really tricky. I met that guy from Nebraska who had never seen a black person in person. He's telling the other guy, I shaved my head when I joined the Navy, but some of my other buddies didn't. And they're like, can I feel your hair? Can I feel it? In my head, I'm like, man, you must be outside of your mind. But all of those things, were still happening. And just, really short, Ed, I got to my first ship, which is an aircraft carrier, met the person in charge of assigning us to various different positions, this master chief. And he said, I don't allow, well, first of all, there's this word that's so polarizing in America that we don't even use the word anymore. We use the first letter of the word, the N word.
Yeah.
So he goes, I don't allow no insert word, into the computer room, boy. So you are going to have to go, work in this other division. And in my head, I thought, this is 1986. Don't you realize that Martin Luther King's birthday is like a holiday now? We're going to the moon. I mean, what are you even doing? But okay, I mean, if that's what it is, it's what it is. So, because of where I was raised, that language really didn't sting me at all. Because in my head, I'm like, just let me get someplace where I can go to work and compete against everybody else and watch and see what happens. The thing why that's still relevant is that the average mid to high level leader, right? So the average, chief, the average lieutenant commander, department head, whatever, those people had been in the Navy 15, 20 years. Well, I joined in 86. So that means that they were adults in 68, 69, right. When the civil rights activity, the violent activity that we remember, dogs and water hoses on people, they were adults during that time. And depending on where they fell, on the side of history, that's the way they still treated people. So that's the reason I bring the significance up, is because I had to endure a lot of that. But again, I'm built for that. So
that's just, I just think it's wrong, first of all. And second of all, I mean, because I have so many people I know that we pick on. I mean, they call me, redneck and everything else. And it's all military people that I know. We pick on each other. Every dumb thing there is everybody. And so I understand it's out there. I just don't run into it. And again, I know because I'm white, and I'm sorry, but I'm just saying, I know, but I just don't get it.
Yeah. And you're in Modesto, man. I mean, if you're in Dallas, there's a great movie called The Green Book. I'm not here to advertise it whatsoever, but I am here to say that this in the movie, The Green Book, it talks about this book where when you're traveling through the South, there are places where you can go and places black people cannot go. That's basically the premise of the movie. Super good movie, by the way. I remember the book. I mean, so I know even now as I'm traveling through East Texas, there's some towns I'm not stopping to get gas. I can make it to the next town. So that's still, something that you see. And then, of course, we're really good at disguising. Some people are really good at disguising it. And I'd say over the last 8 years, probably hasn't been as much a need to disguise it as it had been in the past. But yeah, that activity is still there.
That's just too bad. You think, we're bad, but nothing compared to India and other countries where it is horrible how bad they treat each other, their class systems. It's really bad. And people don't understand it until you go to other countries. Yes, we have pockets that are bad. Then let's move on from this. This is not supposed to be a conversation, but it does tell people that there's different, some people, it's how you're raised.
Right.
Nobody wakes up being racist. That's not how that works. You have to be, it's like my American bully we were talking about ahead of time. Nicest dog in the world. The only way to get a mean American bully is you have to beat it and you have to hurt it and do everything else and teach it to be mean. And
Right.
that's the same thing about people who become racist. That's something they learn from their family and other thing. And you need to make those changes. Because some good friends of mine they're like different nationalities, like, man, my parents were so racist. So it just, again, I think as we get older and older, more of it's going away, and I hope it keeps going that way because the generations change. Like some people, you can't put the morals of today on people from the 40s or the 50s.
Sure.
Things change. I mean, if you're still alive, you need to make those changes, but you can't go back and make changes.
I tell you what's interesting is that, and playfully I say I'm built for that but I was, I grew up in a very racist America, in this town in Oklahoma, and made it into the Navy. And the interesting thing to me, Ed, is that I came in thinking that there was this meritocracy and realized it's not what it was, but it's not exactly the full on meritocracy. You do your best and you get, the things. But what I did realize is that we figured out a way to peacefully get along, for the most part, and living, in that environment for over 3 decades and then transitioning out, I realized that men would feel bad in there after all. And that open, measure of discrimination and so forth that will happen at a toot and take 'em, gas station or filling station, technically, that you go to out in town. I mean, I wasn't necessarily prepared for that. And there were some, even though, again, I grew up in that environment, I was like, wow, here we are in 2019, 2020, and we're still, behaving that way.
That's just too bad.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I think that the future is promising, because so many times people would come to my ship and they see, the young folks. In those days, it's interesting how we slap names on people, millennials, Gen Z, Gen that, blah, 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 young people in general. Right. Could care less about some of the things that, old fogies are, cleaving to, from days gone by. And that, I think, is the beauty of being a veteran. And if I see a vet, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, not sure what the Space Force looks like, but if I see one of those folks, we're instantly connected. And I love that.
Right. I thought you were going to say Coast Guard, not the Space Force.
Oh, Coast Guard. We treat the Coast Guard a certain kind of way.
Yeah, gray water Navy is what we call it. You're like, well, not that, and I was like, you thought you were, and then it's Space Force. I'm like, they're still
funny.
Yeah, and again, we are getting better, but again, I've never walked a day in your shoes, so I don't understand what you go through. So I apologize.
I appreciate. I appreciate that mindset, because someone told me during the height of the George Floyd situation, this older lady, she said, man, I don't understand, but I do stand with you that this is wrong. And that was probably one of the most powerful things that anyone had said to me in a challenging environment like that. And again, back to the beauty of veterans, oftentimes those folks, we may josh a lot. We may, bump and jostle back and forth when it comes down to inter-service, but we're going to stand together if anybody else stands up. So,
yeah, only we can pick on each other.
Right.
Only I can call Marina Jarhead. Then nobody else can. Yeah.
Nobody else.
And they can the only ones that can call us squids. Anybody else does, that's fighting.
It's on. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, I had a good friend from Georgia when I was in boot camp and corps school, and the problem with him is every time he drank, he was like, "You want to fight?" Georgia. It's like, dude, you're laughing because you understand what I'm talking about.
I do. Oh, I love it. Yeah.
All right, so you were in. So please don't take this wrong, but
okay.
you were the first Black Master Chief of Europe and Africa.
Fleet Master Chief, yeah.
Fleet Master Chief.
Yeah.
But you were the best at what you did in order to get there.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, it just so happens that I was the Black person that got chose. However, it is kind of indicative of the previous years where there was nobody else. But what I know for sure is that there is a very tight standard when it comes down to promotions in the Navy anyway. And, you prove your competency with a written exam. And then you express your competency, in the workplace, which gets reflected in a written evaluation. Those two things at the higher ranks get evaluated and scrutinized, and then you get selected into the various different positions. And then at the highest positions, including Master Chief of the Navy, the fleet, there's only 350,000 people in the Navy or so. There's only 4 fleet Master Chiefs. And wow. So to get selected into one of those positions is a big deal.
Yeah. But I'm just saying you had to be amazing in order to get there.
That's what they say.
Yeah, I'm just saying it had nothing to do with the color of your skin. I'm just so people who go, well, he's black, he's the first one. No, that's secondary.
Yeah, the
I got it. They would just say he was a redneck who fleet master chief guy.
Yeah. And I think we really don't do justice when it comes down to admitting how long it takes for something to happen. That is someone who is performing at a very high level, sustained superior performance, getting selected into a position that many before had been qualified for. And so oftentimes I believe that when we acknowledge the fact that, hey, this was the first person to do that, even though it's, 2025, then people may look at it and say, well, we got to make sure that we're doing a really good job of choosing the best and brightest, not just choosing our friends, because as the saying goes, ducks pick ducks. And so when ducks are picking ducks,
so I'm in the mortgage industry, so I watch what's going on with the news. And he had the Treasury Secretary talking about everything, and he was an amazing guy. And the lady's like, "You're the first gay," and he's like, "So?" I mean, it's like, don't put me in a box just because of it. And I'm just trying to say you were amazing in order to get that position. Because some people, that's stupid things that people will say, and I just want to make sure people don't say it, that in order to get in that position, you had to check boxes, and you don't just move up in the Navy just to move up. You have to be the best of the best. And the reason I bring that up is because I got out after 5 years, 5 months and 14 days, but who was counting? One of the reasons is we could never make rank.
Yeah.
In the medical field, because there's certain people who come in from certain places, and then they stay in their whole career and never get out of those places, and so you can't move up. And so it was like not like my son in the Army who's moving up rank like nobody's business.
Really?
Yeah, E5 within like 6 years. I'm like, what the heck?
Wow. But the interesting thing, and that's really one of the reasons I stayed. Well, I joined intending to do 20. But I knew without a doubt I was going to stay when they merged the data processing rate, which was my rate, with the rate called radiomen. And the radiomen were in charge of high frequency communications, but they're also in charge of making copies of the plan of the day and putting it in boxes. So when they merged us together, I was extremely confident when they made us the second largest rate in the Navy, second to Corpsman, by the way. When they made us the second largest rate in the Navy, I was like, oh, I know I'm going to stay, because if I'm competing as a computer dude against the guy making copies and putting them in a cubbyhole, I know I can get promoted. And so that was a big part of me staying.
And then just a question I'm going to ask, because when I got my bachelor's and master, everybody asked me, are you going to go for officer? And I'm like, no, because they're on ships. Because line officers are always on ships, and there's not, as you can tell, I didn't want to go on a ship. Not that I didn't want to, it's just I heard so many things. Plus, I'm 6'2". All right. Yeah, I have shin problems and head problems all the time, ducking through everything and picking my feet up. It's just not something I want. It was like, that's not what I joined up for. They go, why'd you pick the Navy? Well, again, they said my certain job, and it worked for me. I got to see San Diego, and I almost was supposed to get stationed in North Carolina. Thank God I didn't. Camp Lejeune during that period of time.
Yeah.
I'd have some major problems.
No doubt.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, so that's why. So why didn't you, was it not even a thought to go to become an officer?
No, I just didn't have a sponsor or a mentor that were telling me, hey, this pathway is way easier than this pathway to Master Chief. I just didn't have anybody to explain that to me. And so, I mean, I was qualified to go into many of the ascension programs that we had in those days, but I just didn't have someone fully explaining to me the value. What I knew without a doubt is that there was a great honor in being a chief, the rank of the sublime, making chief, going through initiation, being part of the less than 1%, according to the U.S. Code Title 10, according to the law, only 1% can be master chief. There's a great honor in being there. And I just didn't have someone sit down and say, look, here's the difference. And I was at the time I was married, I had 4 children, or we had 4 children, I should say. Here's the difference between the two. This pathway is super easy to get to this rank. This pathway is crazy hard, and you know it. But you got this brotherhood and so on and so forth. And so that was the reason.
All right. So when you got it, so when somebody like myself gets out early or in any service, there's a TAP program in transition, which is, I don't want to say horrible, but it's not the best. When you, at your level, when you retired, was it easier for you to transition out and job offers and everything else, or was it just as difficult as somebody younger getting out early?
Well, for me, because I was a bit so unique, I would say that it was probably easier. So for the senior ranking, so for the flag officers, which are admirals, and fleet master chiefs, again, I mentioned how elite that group is. We get a special type of TAP in addition to TAP. And so you're instantly connected to Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. There are other, particularly admirals, people that I might have served with who were in influential positions in these big companies. And so that if I were to have gone that route, then, calling somebody who I served with, before, or who knew someone that I served with, that would have been certainly much easier. But I chose the route of entrepreneurship rather than going out and seeking that type of employment. But it's not significantly easier unless you're willing to ask for that type of support. And so for those who are willing to put their hand up and say, hey, Ed, you know anybody who has a position open that's looking for somebody like me? Can you ask your network? People who ask those questions, they win. And at the level that I transitioned out of, they really win.
Wow. No, it's just because a lot of people lose their purpose when they get out because they're having difficulties trying to find jobs, trying to find this. They're like, oh, it's so easy. Just go all these different places and you have all these help. And I have found that the senior NCOs and officers who's been in and retired have it a lot easier than anybody else who gets out early on. And it's, again, about the connections you make while you're in on top of that. But I have found through this show, which is weird because I do another podcast called Inner Edison, which is your greatest confidence come from your greatest defeats, and it has to do with entrepreneurship and everything else. However, about 50% of the shows that I have now through Helping the Brave is a business owner.
How about that?
Yeah. So I would say about 50% of vets become business owners. And I would see it's because of our background, what we attention to detail, SOPs, all the stuff that we've learned to run, we can put that stuff in the business and really build a business. Now, so did you know you were going to go in the business world when you retired, or was it something that you just were you?
No, I it's something that just kind of came up once I transitioned out, and I was initially, full disclosure, I was initially looking for a job. And I was actually, I connected with one of the many programs that offer sponsors for veterans. So I had a Fortune 500 company. There was one of the executives in that company who put their hand up and say, hey, I'd be willing to sponsor and help you put together resumes, reach out to their network, send out things. And it was really going well. And then I got my first check and I was like, I think I'll be all right. Instead of going out there and jumping back into the quote unquote rat race or onto, some sort of a hamster wheel, how about I just do something on my own? And I did a lot of really hard times in the Navy. And so it was good for me to just kind of decompress and settle down and make my way out of the sunken place and have my own business. So that worked out really good for me.
And so how did you start your own business?
So just before I retired, I started Kemp Solutions LLC. And I did that because I had helped rewrite the Navy Leadership Development Program called Laying the Keel. And people were calling me, asking me to come and talk about that. And I knew I needed a vehicle for them to pay me to do that because I no longer have that fat budget. So I need to make sure that they can pay me. So that's why I started it. Once I got started, I then went and got qualified through the Y Institute because the Y certification, I thought was a really, really interesting program that I thought would be great for leadership. I wish I would have had it when I was younger. And then I went to John Maxwell. So I was certified as a speaker, trainer, and coach through John Maxwell program. And from there, it just kind of, I don't want to use the term took off because I'm still, walking and climbing and growing. But that is how the business began, going through those certifications, through those classes, several others, that people I follow, like Eric Thomas. I went and I met with him and his organization, and it was okay. Well, this is what I want to do. I want to speak, train occasionally, do a little bit of coaching, and see what happens.
What is the Y Institute?
The Y. So there's this book called "Start with Why" by Simon Sinek.
WHY.
Say again.
WHY.
Yes, WHY. And
people understood what we're talking about.
Right. And it's actually the #2 most watched TED Talk, I think. I heard it recently. But starting with why, this book, it's a book written by a middle-aged guy to other middle-aged guys on how to talk to millennials. When I was young, it was, hey, go do this, and I'm going to do it. Sooner or later, I'd find out why. These days, it's smarter to start with why. And these same people that people complain about, they'll run through a troop and jump over walls to do what you ask them to do when they know why they're doing it. At the Y Institute, there's a guy named Dr. Gary Sanchez. He met with Simon Sinek. They figured out, 9 whys. Everyone has them, and apply those into leadership and create a very simple statement. For example, my why, how, and what. My why in life is to find a better way. So what that means is the success happens when I can find a better way and share it with other people. How I do that is by challenging the status quo and traditional thinking. What I ultimately bring is a contribution either to an individual or to a group. And I've been that way my whole life. And if I would have known that language while I was in uniform, it would have saved me a lot of time explaining to people my expectations.
No, I was just typing it over here. Because one of the things I learned a long time ago, as I've been in sales since I got out, is I have to find out why people want to do what they're doing. And then you have to ask them 3 times usually to figure out, so they can tell you the real reason why they're doing what they're doing. And that's just from me doing it. And also that's the same thing when I do interviews. And that's why I do decently when I do these interviews, is because of the time I've been in sales, and I ask questions and I tell people what used to get me in trouble at the dinner table with my wife. We used to be squeezing my, when you're with a group of people, I'd ask all these questions and she's like squeezing my leg, telling me to shut up. Right. Now I don't have that problem. She's not next to me, but I want to know why people voted the way they did, why they did this. Not that I think they're dumb and they're stupid for voting that way. I just want to understand what human nature and why they think that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think curiosity is good, man. And when we can be in a space with people who are okay with us being genuinely curious, I think there's just great value there.
No, I totally make sure that's the only way you would think that we hate each other. The different nationalities will hate each other. And just in general, just what I've learned from interviewing people, being on radio and everything else, I find most of us are in the middle. There's just the fringes on 0.5% on each side, fringes that are so loud that we think they're larger than they really are. Just like there's those idiots who do what they in certain counties that you can't go to. There's those it's not everybody, but there's still those fringes that are still there. And I feel the same way. Most of us, we just don't care. We all get along. We don't agree 100%, but that's okay. We don't have
to. Yeah. I'm an imposter. I'm like, what if everybody's right? What if the way you believe is right for you and this person believes is right for them? I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't encroach on my freedom, to be right about what I choose to do. And that is a a pretty liberating posture when I'm surrounded by people who may not see things the same way I do.
Well, that's just like, people with religion. The first thing, why are you judging people? Because who's to say your religion is right and theirs is wrong? It's that's who's to say that they're not the same religion? We just don't understand that. Who knows? We have no idea.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, we have no idea. We'll know when we die.
Yeah, one fine day.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out who was right at that point.
It'll be a measure of consciousness, and I doubt that anybody will be saying, "I told you should have came with me." I think we'll just be, making the transition, whatever that may be.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yeah, we don't know, and it's funny. I had a friend who just passed away, and this kid was like, "Man, because the gentleman had cancer, and he was we knew it was going to happen. He's like, man, it's just really sad and scary." He goes, "I don't care what you believe, but when this time comes, it's really scary." And I'm like, well, that's like that country song. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And it's so true. It's like, yeah. And that's how everything is in life. But all right. So I didn't ask it. When did you retire?
2019.
Okay.
2019.
Right at the right time.
It was good timing. And it just so happened I retired on the USS Harry S. Truman, where I had served formerly as the Command Master Chief for 33 months. And I retired at 33 years on the ship named after the 33rd president. So it was a special day. That, and what I was going to ask, because right as you're getting out, you had COVID. Yeah, right. Luckily, you had retirement, right? And I'll tell you, Ed, that's what caused me to write the book. Which book? So I wrote a book called Building Resilience for Hybrid Success, and it started with the conversation with me and one of my buddies who was still in uniform. I said, "Man, what a great time to be a leader." He's like, man, you don't understand these young people, blah blah blah, and COVID and hybrid this and blah and so forth. I'm like, yeah, but all they need is somebody to help explain, the why behind it all, to express what right looks like, and just kind of back and forth. And the conversation ended, but I had more to say. So I started texting him and I had more to say, and it went to an email, and I'm like, I just might as well write it down. And so sure enough, just right over my shoulder there, book hit the streets about 2 years ago and has been an interesting talking point. Cool. Sounds like, you know what you're doing. Well, I tell you, I just want to prove it. And that's why I wrote the book. Well, I'm just saying, and then doing all the other things that you're doing. You rose up through the ranks, and you had to get to know people in order to talk to them. And like you said, when we joined, it was like, go do this. Don't ask any questions. Just go do it. Right. Why? Just because I said so. Right. Moving. Yeah. Oh man, it's so funny. It's so different than now. And I was the them. Yeah. When I got to make it to the rank of E5, and I had a big team of people, because I said so, blah blah blah. But then I realized I didn't like it when people talk to me like that. So let me just start telling. I don't want to be the senior person with a secret. So let me just start telling everybody what I know. And it's one of the things that separated me from my peers, I honestly believe. And so as I made it into the higher ranks, then being able to do two things: one, speak truth to power, and two, being able to express why. Because as I looked around and I saw people saying, "Hey, why do we have to do this and why do we have to do that?" Their leaders were saying, "Because I said so, because blah, blah." But the truth of the matter is that they didn't know why. So because I knew why, I was always willing to explain it. Gotcha. All right. So you have Kemp Solutions. Is that a training company? What is Kemp Solutions? Did I see it? So it is. So again, I do three things. My full intent is to just very simply change the world. I want to change the world from the workplace outward. So imagine if everyone went to work and they were treated with a high level of disrespect, with a high level of respect. And let's just say a small group of people. You go into work and you're treated with a high level of dignity and respect. You're not going to hoard that. You're going to take that feeling home, treat those people the same way into the community and then out into the world. So we change the world. And the way I do that is through building resilience and loyalty in organizations, usually at 50 or more, by keynote speaking, doing training sessions with their companies, and then a small amount of executive coaching.
So it's complete opposite of Zig Ziglar kicking the dog. Because a dog, who's kicking your dog? Yeah, the husband gets yelled at by his boss. He comes home, yells at the wife, who yells at the kid, and then kid goes and kicks the dog.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to flip that around.
Yeah. No, I grew up on all the Zig Ziglar stuff because I was in sales, and I learned how to, I even do another podcast called Aces 53, which has to do with when I was in college. The instructor said, remember 4 aces and a joker. And it was attitude, commitment, enthusiasm, and smile. It was the acronym. It's what you bring to the table in sales. And the joker is that unique ability you have naturally or something that you learned. Like the guy I do the podcast with, he does facial recognition. He can tell you everything about you by your eyebrows, your ears, your nose, everything. And he's like right on. People are so freaked out by it. And mine was, I had no idea I had a deep voice until I put headphones on. You're laughing, but I didn't have it because we sound different than we hear ourselves.
Same.
Yeah. And until you put headphones on as it comes back through. And I sold by the phone for 18 years. And this is in the mortgage industry where we used to overnight packages to people and they would sign the stuff. And I would get 90% of my packages back. I'd close 90% of my business, which is unheard of. The closest person to me was 48%. And like, how do you do it? I'm like, first of all, I make sure they want it. And the second, I know why, because you normally talk to the women.
That's right. You got that midnight jazz voice.
Yeah. I guess so. I don't know. I still don't really know.
Yeah, FM 107. I can hear it right now. Midnight jazz with Ed.
So I do local radio for a talk show, so it does really well. So
good. Yeah.
All right. I want a copy of your book signed, and I'll buy one for somebody else. I'll send you my address if you'll do that for me. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely, would be my honor to do it.
Sure. And then I'm gonna try to get you on, and we'll just keep this my other podcast called Enter Edison. It's more of a business podcast, so that we can get some information on that one. I'll send you information out for that. Okay,
that'd be great. I appreciate that.
Anything else you want to add before we go that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you today?
Let's see. I think the one thing I was hoping to express is that if you have veterans or folks who are on active duty getting ready to transition out, my highest encouragement is to ensure that you have friends and or family close enough to you for you to express the concern with the quiet. The Navy, especially on ships, was always ruckus. It was always generators going, air conditions blowing. There was always something happening, but in the silence, in the quietness, it was almost frightening. The transition out of the Navy for me and the military for others is that quietness will sometimes catch you off guard. And my sincerest hope is that you have someone close to you that you trust and who loves you, who is able to say, hey, I will go with you, or I'll stand with you as you make your way through the transition, because that quietness was the biggest surprise. And then the last thing I want to say is that, there's 10 2-letter words that I think that makes people better leaders and just better people. And those 10 words are, if it is to be, it is up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just going to get after it. Give me a chance to do my best and then see what happens.
And the other thing I would add to what you just said is, as you're getting out, please apply for your benefits. It's huge. Wow. It's life changing. People don't understand. When we were in and I got out early, oh my God, they denied you and denied you and denied you. And then over the last 6 years, it's gotten so much better. And the process and everything else is so much better. It's to a point where I had a ranger on who helped me. But going through the process, I came up with all these different ideas because I'm close to Silicon Valley, and they were like, woo. And so we created a veterans benefit company for helping the brave. Is through the podcast. Helping the Brave podcast is also a Helping the Brave benefit company. It's in where we have a bunch of people we're helping right now for free, just to get them through the process, get the testimonials. But if you need help, reach out. But you have to get your benefits. It's life changing. I mean, if you get I'm not saying everybody gets 100%, but if you get 100%, your wife gets and kids get medical. You don't have to worry about it if you're a business owner. You have that. Plus, you have the money. Plus, they can go to school for free. And everybody's kids can go to school for free if you're 10% or up to 90. But the problem is they can't make over a certain dollar amount. Once you get to 100%, they can make as much as they want. It doesn't matter.
It's amazing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Please, get those benefits. And you're not taking anything from anyone. There's tons of money for that. So
it has nothing to do with there's only a pool for everybody. No, there's enough for everybody. Plus, what I just found out, if you're 100% P&T, there's also another pension you can get up to $1,700 a month. It's like 18 grand a year. So nice. It works up. Yeah. So they help out additional too when you get older. So there's additional money out there.
Nice.
I just found that out. So
I have to get on a call with you and find that.
I'll tell you what form that is because I don't do it. I'll just find it for you because I don't. That's not something anybody does. You just go directly to the VA and fill it out.
Okay, great.
You can't make over like $175,000 a year. Well, if you are, you don't need that money. So
right.
And they don't count housing and other stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean the stuff that's there that we don't even know about that they hid, not that they hid, but they don't tell you about it.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Raymond, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate having you. I had a good time talking to you.
Yeah, same here. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thank you again.
All right,
have a great day. All right, bye.